Hi, I'm attachment specialist Adam Lane Smith, and today I want to teach you how to heal your marriage after an affair. By the end of this video, you should understand why affairs happen, why it's not your fault if you're the injured party, how to fix it from both sides, and if it's worth fixing it. I'm going to give you an objective assessment because that's something most people don't give. You get a lot of touchy-feely ideas that either blame the person who did it into the ground or tell you to just get out of the marriage as fast as possible. Or they blame the injured party and say it was your fault for not cultivating enough sex in the marriage, or who knows. There's all kinds of excuses that go into it. We're not going to be doing that today. Today is just a flat-out assessment. From my days as a licensed marriage family therapist, I treated a lot of couples, a lot of affairs, a lot of weird kind of affairs, everything you can imagine. So I just want to teach you today. Hopefully that'll help. First of all, I want to talk about what is your risk of experiencing an affair. Now, in 2020, the Relish Report published a survey of 1,700 adults in long-term relationships, examining the prevalence of affairs. They found 26% of couples reported experiencing at least one incident of infidelity in their current relationship. Of those reported affairs, 23% were purely emotional, 21% were purely sexual, and 55% included both emotional and sexual infidelity. If a 26% chance of having an affair sounds bad, Alfred Kinsey's admittedly biased research concluded the rate for men was about 50%, and some studies have even placed the odds of an affair as high as 72%. That sounds awfully high for me. And let's not assume that affairs are purely a male problem either. Female affairs are reported at slightly lower rates, but research has proven that women are less likely to admit sexual encounters to researchers that they fear might be perceived as negative. Affairs happen on both sides. We can't say exactly how common they are, but it does seem to be frequent enough for concern. And I personally know plenty of people who've gone through it, so it's happening. If you've experienced an affair yourself, you know how painful that fallout can be. There are many factors that change your odds of experiencing an affair. They're more common in upper-class couples. They're less common in conservative cultures, for example. Religion seems to play a part. Attachment, though, is the biggest indicator I saw in my years as a marriage therapist, was the health of the attachment. If you've been cheated on, or if your partner had an affair and now lives with that regret, I want you to understand that you're not alone. And if you've been the one who had an affair, I want you also to understand that you're not alone. Look around you at the committed couples you know. Odds are good that at least one out of every four of them has experienced some kind of an affair. Most likely, that number might be higher. So you're not alone. That's 1 in 4. Even though you may feel alone, you're not. And affairs cause that feeling of feeling alone too. But affairs don't always spell the end of a marriage. Only about 20 to 40% of infidelities actually end in divorce. That means 60 to 80% of couples are able to continue in some fashion. I want to give you the best outcome, not a bad outcome, not barely getting through, the best. Now, what does it look like to pick up in the best way after an affair and try to stay married? For many, that prospect seems overwhelming because the most intimate relationship in your life is now associated with pain and betrayal. Both sides imagine decades of anger and hurt until one of them dies. That prospect is enough to send anybody running to a divorce attorney. The partner who was cheated on often lives with insecurity, doubt, crushing helplessness. Women and men in this position alike ask the same question: why wasn't I good enough? Why didn't you come to me? What's wrong with me? That storm of self-doubt turns outward in anger. They made you hurt, so it's only fair that you do the same in return. This is their fault, after all. They should shut their mouth and let you vent about how they made you feel. They have to make this right. Except venting doesn't make it feel better. The other person says sorry over and over and over, but it's not enough. Sorry doesn't undo the hurt. Sorry doesn't rebuild trust. Sorry doesn't help you sleep better at night. And it doesn't explain why they did what they did. Sorry can never erase the self-doubt their affair created in you. And forcing the person you love, because you still love them, to apologize over and over makes you feel like the bad guy. How messed up is that? And if you're the partner who went outside the relationship, you probably have just as many questions. Why did I do this? What was I thinking? How could I have been so stupid to risk the one relationship that means everything to me? As the injured partner vents their anger at you, you may think, I deserve this. I'll do everything I can to help them feel better, even if they hate me. I can take it. And a lot of partners try very hard to make right what they did. But weeks into the constant anger and vindictive verbal abuse, you probably feel exhausted. You start to think, isn't there an end to this? Is this going to be my whole life from now on? Will I be hated forever for what I did? Am I never allowed to be happy again? If you've experienced an affair on either side, everything I've told you is common. It happens just about every time in an ugly circle that gets you nowhere. Instead of working together to heal, the partners try to live around their anger. It turns into a system of checkpoints and demands. No one benefits from this cycle. I worked for years as a licensed marriage and family therapist. What issue do you think brings many couples into therapy? Affairs. It's affairs. I've treated every type of infidelity you can imagine, like I said, and some really weird ones that I can't even talk about on here. No matter how weird the affair was, though, there was always just one way of healing that partnership. Always one. One method that made everything better and helped the couple come back better than they'd ever been. Not just back to a miserable life trapped in an angry marriage, but to feel closer and happier than they ever had, even before the affair. I'm talking about, like I said, attachment. Couples who buckled down and fixed their attachment issues together completely turned their infidelity into a new chance at happiness. It became a turning point in their marriage instead of an end to it. But only if both partners were willing to come to the table and fix the attachment issues that led to the affair in the first place. Now consider this. The biggest issue after an affair is, how can we rebuild trust now that it's been broken? Some couples go to extreme lengths, even doing daily phone checks on the offending partner and hourly check-ins with photographic proof of their locations. Yeah, that happens. But even that won't rebuild the trust. Why? Because the belief is that the offending partner is only changing because the injured partner is forcing that change. Altered behavior that comes from outside pressure is useless because it puts the burden of preventing the next affair on the injured partner. They need to maintain constant vigilance forever, never relaxing or accidentally trusting too much. That's another reason they're so angry. They say, look how you're forcing me to live for the rest of my life. I don't want to be a relationship Nazi, but you've made me become one. If pressure from outside is useless, that reveals the answer. The change must come from inside the offending partner. They must heal their attachment such a level that they effectively become a different person. They enact relationship behaviors on their own that only deepen over time instead of decreasing as the injured partner relaxes. Why? Because healthy attachment provides the following: transparent communication about problems when they're small enough to fix, cooperative engagement to fix problems together instead of hiding them and working on them all alone, open communication about needs so they don't go unmet and create blow-up resentment in the relationship, and clear boundaries with external relationships to preserve trust, performed by both partners out of respect for each other and not as a tactic to get forgiveness. If you're just doing it for forgiveness, then the moment forgiveness is given, it's done. But if you're doing it because it's what you truly want, that changes the game. All four of these reasons are reasons the affair happened in the first place. When they're absent, as they are in people with broken attachment, an affair is almost guaranteed to happen of some kind. Now, it may not be a full sexual affair. It might be an emotional affair. It might be a porn addiction, which many would construe as a type of an affair. It could be an addiction. It could be all kinds of secret problems. An affair is just the most obvious one. It hurts the most because it breaks the relationship trust the most. And that's the painful truth. Now, if you never share your needs with your partner, if you resent them for not meeting your secret needs, if you never communicate about problems till they're huge, if you work silently on secret problems hoping you can fix them without your partner finding out, and if you can't maintain boundaries with outside relationships because you're so emotionally confused, how do you expect to maintain a marriage? That's a recipe for disaster. And couples where one partner has an attachment issue usually have two people with attachment issues. There's a reason you married someone who's emotionally distant and insecure. Healing your attachment together helps the injured partner recognize the affair didn't happen because of some flaw in them. The affair happened because of broken attachment and emotional disconnection between the partners that drove the offending partner to seek a moment of connection in the wrong place, not as the injured partner's fault, and not because the offending partner just magically did it or was driven to it with no choice, but internally they felt compelled into that because they believed they had no other options. It's a tricky line to walk. It doesn't excuse the choice, but it does explain what happened. And that knowledge may bring relief and healing to the injured partner who spends their nights wondering, why wasn't I good enough? Healing attachment doesn't undo the hurt right away. Once the attachment's fixed, the injured partner usually watches with suspicion. Their brain is saying, sure, my partner changed, but only because they had to. They'll go back to their old ways. Just watch. This suspicion usually lasts about 3 weeks. Why? Because 3 weeks is the length of time it takes a human being to fully establish a new habit. If the change is purely external pressure, the offending partner will usually stop the new behaviors by the end of the 2nd week. Their old behaviors are too strong. The reason for that changing is weak. They were open just long enough to calm their injured partner. It was all about getting results. And any woman who has a husband who says, I'll change, I'll change, I'll change, and has said that for 20 years, will tell you it's about 2 weeks. 2 weeks of waiting. 3 weeks, often, would be a miracle. But if the healthy behaviors are increasing at 3 weeks and taking on a life of their own, the offending partner will become a new person by the end of that 3rd week. Their old relationship habits are gone, their new attachment behaviors are firmly in place, and as they get better results from honesty and transparency, the healthy behaviors will become addictive to them. They'll want to do it even more. The biggest change is that the offending partner will cease to ask, how long are you going to be mad at me? That question is like fingernails on a chalkboard to the injured partner. It tells them you're only changing to get a result, not because you've really changed in your heart. When the offending partner instead says, this is who I am now, and I'm going to keep doing healthy things even if you never forgive me because this is the right way to live, the injured partner starts to trust them. The goal has shifted from trying to get a result to living with firm principles. The offending partner has become a person worthy of trust and respect. That shows the injured partner that the offending partner is a new person. Trust can be established because the constant life choice is being made in the open. It's impossible to have an affair when you maintain total transparency about needs and complete honesty about problems. You both recognize the seeds of an affair from a mile away and cut it off when it's a tiny concern. So if your relationship has suffered an affair, and if you're trying to rebuild, this is the way to do it. As long as both partners are willing to do the work, fix your attachment and your relationship will become better than it's ever been. I know, I've watched it happen. I've seen couples turn around 2 weeks after an affair, enter my office, and 2 to 3 weeks later report being happier than they've ever been because both were willing to work on it as hard as possible and fix it. And they did. I've walked so many couples through affairs, so many different partner types, all kinds of things, all kinds of relationships through affairs. It can be healed if both partners want to fix the attachment problems at the core. That's the power of attachment. Go give it a try. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Please leave me a comment. It really helps out the channel. Until next time.